Okay, so are you ready to dive into some BLACKPINK controversies?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right, so we're talking about BLACKPINK, obviously huge K-pop group.
Global,
Yeah, global fan base. I mean, they're everywhere.
hugely popular.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the controversies that they've had to deal with.
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because they are such a global group,
Yeah.
they kind of run into a lot more controversies just based on different cultures, different expectations.
Right, and navigating all that.
Exactly.
So we've got like Jennie's vaping incident, and then we'll talk about the whole cabaret performance with Lisa,
Right.
and then cultural appropriation accusations, and even a music video ban.
Yeah.
And we'll touch on Rosé and LGBTQ issues.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover.
There's a lot to
A
tell.
lot of interesting controversies.
Yeah, so first up, Jennie's vaping incident. This was earlier this year,
Uh-huh.
and it was spotted in a YouTube vlog that was filmed in Italy.
Right?
And so what was the big deal with that?
Well, I mean, it depends on your perspective, right? So, like, to a lot of people outside of Korea, especially in, like, Western countries, vaping indoors isn't necessarily that big of a deal.
Right.
But in Korea, it's a really big social faux pas.
Hmm.
So it's seen as very disrespectful.
Interesting.
And so because BLACKPINK has such a large Korean fan base, that was like the big issue. It wasn't that she was vaping, it was that she was vaping indoors in a place where it was considered to be culturally inappropriate.
Okay, that makes sense. And so she did apologize.
Yeah. She did, yeah.
Like she addressed it?
She acknowledged the cultural differences and apologized for any offense.
Right. Okay, so let's move on to Lisa's cabaret performance.
Yeah, this one's really interesting.
Yeah, this was at the Crazy Horse Cabaret in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell me about that one. Like, what were people saying?
Well, on Chinese social media especially, there was a huge debate.
Uh-huh.
So you had some people saying that it was inappropriate for her to be performing at a cabaret.
Mm.
And then you had other people, particularly a lot of younger fans, who saw it as a statement of like female empowerment.
Right.
You know, like she's taking control of her sexuality and her image.
Right.
But I think to really understand the controversy, you kind of have to understand the context of cabaret itself.
Okay, so explain cabaret to somebody who doesn't know.
Well, it's not just a show, right? It has
Yeah.
a really long and complex history that's tied up with like societal norms and art and even politics.
Wow.
Like think about the Moulin Rouge in 19th century Paris. You know, that was considered scandalous at the time,
Right.
but now it's like a celebrated institution.
Right.
And so Lisa's performance kind of tapped into that tension between what's considered acceptable and what's pushing boundaries.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like different for every culture.
Exactly. It all depends on the cultural context.
Right, exactly. All right, so another controversy that BLACKPINK has faced, and this isn't unique to them,
Right.
is cultural appropriation. And specifically, they were criticized for wearing hairstyles like cornrows and box braids.
Uh-huh.
So why is this such a sensitive topic?
Well, because those hairstyles are deeply intertwined with the history and identity of Black communities.
Right.
And so when people outside of those communities wear them, it can be seen as a form of cultural erasure. Or at the very least, it shows a lack of understanding of the significance of those hairstyles.
Yeah, it's like you're taking something.
Yeah, you're taking something without understanding.
Yeah, without understanding the weights.
The weight behind it, exactly.
Right, and the history.
Exactly.
Okay, so moving on. Let's go back to 2019 when BLACKPINK's music video for Kill This Love got banned by KBS.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the South Korean broadcasting network.
Right.
And this one wasn't about offensive content. It was
Yeah.
actually about
A driving scene.
reckless driving.
Yeah, there was a scene in the music video where they were driving recklessly, and KBS, being a public broadcasting network, they have really strict regulations. And they saw that as promoting dangerous behavior,
Right, especially to a younger audience.
especially to a younger audience, exactly.
So was this the first time something like that has happened?
No, not at all. I mean, this debate about censorship and artistic expression goes way beyond K-pop.
Right.
You see it in movies, you see it in TV shows,
Video games even.
video games.
Yeah.
It's always this question of where do you draw the line
Right, where's the line?
between creative freedom and responsible content.
Yeah, and who gets to decide that?
Exactly.
Right. Okay, so lastly, let's talk about Rosé and her stance on LGBTQ rights.
Okay.
And this has been interesting to see how it's been received because it's drawn both praise and criticism.
Yeah, it's a tricky one
Yeah.
because attitudes towards LGBTQ rights are so different around the world.
Yeah.
What might be seen as like a basic human rights stance in one country could be extremely controversial in another country.
Yeah.
And Rosé, being part of a global group, she has to navigate all of those cultural sensitivities.
It's a tough spot to be in.
It really is.
Yeah, because you want to be able to speak your mind.
Yeah.
But then you also don't want to
Alienate fans.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it's interesting too with social media.
Yeah.
Like everything is amplified.
Everything they do is under a microscope.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and every move is scrutinized and debated by this global audience.
Right.
So it really makes you wonder, like, how do artists who are on this global stage,
Yeah.
how do they express themselves authentically while still navigating all of these cultural differences and expectations?
Yeah, that's a good question to think about.
Yeah, what do you think?
I think it's a case-by-case basis.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
A lot to think about.
for sure. All right, well, that's our deep dive on BLACKPINK controversies.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, thank you.
It was a fun one.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll see y'all next time for another deep dive.
See ya. Bye.